All right, well, here we go. Welcome to the Sport Fanatics podcast, episode 1. I'm one of your co-hosts, Chris.
And I'm J. Mike.
Let's roll the theme song.
Let's do it. All right, NBA playoffs are still going on.
Had one team advance already.
And that was the Phoenix Suns with a 4-0 sweep over MVP-led Nikola Jokic and the Denver Nuggets.
Yeah, they didn't play around.
Sure didn't. Chris Paul and that Phoenix Suns team, they are playing really great and inspired basketball right now. It's just been a privilege to see this team play. They are you could tell that they want to be in the postseason after missing out on it last year in that bubble. I personally thought that they should have advanced into the playoffs in the bubble last year, but you know, you can tell that this season they have really had that chip on their shoulder all season long, and it has carried them to the number 2 overall seed in the Western Conference playoff, and they are playing at an extremely high level right now.
And they're waiting to see if they're going to pick up the Jazz or the Clippers.
Yes, the Clippers tying the series up last night with a pretty dominant win over the Utah Jazz to get back even in that series. And it's been incredible because this is the second time in the playoffs back-to-back series that the LA Clippers have been down 2-0, and they have clawed their way back to tie the series. They pulled it out last series, but the question going forward is Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley going to be healthy enough to carry this Utah Jazz team over this hot LA Clippers team right now, because they are really playing good basketball in LA, really inspired, and they are right back in this thing, that's for sure.
Who do you think is the most of a threat to the Suns?
To the Suns?
Yeah.
I would have to say the LA Clippers, just because right now they're clicking on all cylinders.
They got the hot hand right now.
They do. But I personally think that Paul George has to keep playing at this level that he is. He doesn't need to have any nights off. He needs to continue playing the way that he is, and I think they have a legitimate shot to make the NBA Finals.
All right, so I got a feeling you got the Clippers winning that series then.
If they play the Suns?
Well, here against the Jazz.
Oh, against the Jazz?
Series, yeah.
Oh, yes. Primarily because of the injuries with Donovan Mitchell and Mike Conley right now.
Mm-hmm.
Mike Conley hasn't even stepped on the floor yet in this series, and he's what makes their offense go. Donovan Mitchell, first 2 games, he really picked up the slack for Conley, but he's starting to gimper around himself, so he's not 100%, and that's not a good sign going forward, especially with an LA Clippers team that has clawed back into the series.
Yeah, that'll kill you in the postseason.
No question about it.
Yeah, getting gimpy.
No question. Yes, and that's, unfortunately, that's been the narrative in these NBA playoffs so far, is just the amount of injuries to the superstars on each team. It's really been debilitating for these for these franchises, that's for sure, especially these franchises that really, in these NBA playoffs, it's anybody's title this year.
Yeah, well, it's kind of fun, though, for it to be wide open.
Absolutely.
Like you don't know who it's going to be. The past few years, it's kind of felt on rails a little bit.
Absolutely.
So, it's fun.
As a sports fan, you would always like to see somebody either win it for the first time or to break a long title drought.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That is carried for so long. But this, obviously, this will be the year that either somebody's drought's going to end or we will have a first-time champion. And it's just, I think it's beautiful for sports. I think it's beautiful for the NBA and basketball itself.
Yeah, it'll be exciting to see which fan base is the one getting to go crazy
at
the end.
Yes.
Well, all right, so let's move on to the
Okay.
East.
Let's do it.
So the Bucks and Nets tied.
Yes, they are tied. They actually play tonight here Tuesday night. I believe they're the only game on television tonight on TNT.
Yep.
Going back to debilitating injuries right now in the NBA playoff, the Nets are dealing with two big injuries of their own in Kyrie Irving and James Harden. James Harden is another player that has yet to step on the floor in this series. But the injury to Kyrie Irving in Game 4, the ankle injury that is, really, really hurt that Nets ball club because KD had to be the primary scorer, Kevin Durant, and he just did not have any help at all. Nobody stepped up for him. And that is really a major component going forward is the health of two of the biggest stars in the NBA.
Well, and you can't just be relying on one player, especially once you get to postseason.
Yes.
You got here with both guys. Those will likely be pretty difficult for them moving forward in the series.
Yes,
to get past that.
I fully expect Kevin Durant to be the primary scoring option for this Nets team. He's going to have to post some big numbers tonight for them to have a shot because going back to what I said about the LA Clippers crawling back into their series with the Utah Jazz, that's exactly what has happened here in this series with the injuries as well. The Bucks are right back in this thing. If the Milwaukee Bucks can really, really feed Giannis inside tonight and shoot a good percentage from the perimeter, I really like this Milwaukee Bucks team taking Game 5, taking a 3-2 series lead, pushing it back to Milwaukee.
And then it's theirs to take.
Absolutely. And then the question is will either one or two of the best players on your team be back for a crucial Game 6 to try to get this thing to seven games? But this game tonight is big for both ball clubs because
and this is the game that's always pivotal anyway because you want to be up 3-2.
Absolutely.
And with the injuries included in there, it's not technically a go home night for the Nets, but it kind of feels like it with everything that's going on.
It does. The Bucks pull this thing out tonight. They're in the catbird seat.
Oh yeah, for sure.
At home, back home in Milwaukee. You knew coming into this thing that this would probably be their best chance at making a NBA Finals, let alone winning a championship this year. Just like with the Phoenix Suns, in my opinion, this is the best opportunity for the Phoenix Suns to win their first championship.
And either of those would be some fun teams to watch win it all. Both of them.
No question.
It'd be fun to see them.
I really believe we're going to have a pretty good NBA Finals this year. Mm-hmm. Just because, and I just pray that no one else gets hurt, of course.
Oh, wait, yeah, for sure. I mean, you want to see two teams that are at full strength,
no question,
going at it once you get there.
No question. But whomever makes it out of the Eastern and Western Conference, it should be a great NBA Finals because both squads are going to go toe for toe, and they're going to know that each side's going to know that is this is our best opportunity to win a championship, because there's no telling what's going to happen in free agency with the draft.
Oh yeah.
And the Lakers were hurt all season long, just about. They'll be back. This is up for grabs this season for sure.
Well, we can't forget about the other Eastern. We got the 76ers and the Hawks. And I mean, just a few years ago, the 76ers were bottom dweller.
Yes.
And here they are in got a chance. And it's tied at this another series that's tied.
Yes, another series that was tied last night. 76ers blowing a 18-point second half lead in that one. And Atlanta's right back in this thing.
Yeah, Atlanta fans are saying, I'm glad it wasn't us for once.
And also in that second half, Joel Embiid, 0 for 12.
That's cold. That's a cold streak.
That is not going to get you a playoff win. That's for sure, especially when you're the number one scoring option on your team as well. But it also doesn't help that nobody picked him up in the second half. When he's struggling like that, when anybody's struggling like that, there has got to be somebody or some other guy step up. And that's especially when you're up that big in the second half. You are really trying to take a commanding 3-1 series lead, and you're trying to end this thing as quick as you can to advance to the Eastern Conference Finals.
You think maybe they got a little tight and defensive, maybe with that big lead, and just trying not to blow it and end up blowing it?
They weren't getting anything offensively in the second half, especially with Embiid going 0 for 12 like that.
Right.
But you figured number one overall pick a couple of years ago, Ben Simmons, you figured he would carry the load, but he still has a problem shooting the ball efficiently. He's more of an inside guy, but I've also noticed that not only is he not a lethal shooter, but he is not a lethal free throw shooter at all. They adopted the old hack and shack like they used to do to Shaquille O'Neal because they knew that he would miss both free throws at the line, and that's basically what they're doing with Ben Simmons here, and he has a horrible free throw percentage right now. So, you figured he would be working on that a lot. But he has got to play like the player that the 76ers organization thought that he would become going forward, because Embiid has got that partially torn meniscus,
mm-hmm.
which you could tell that was bothering him in the second half, and of course going 0 for 12 like that in the second half,
just compounding issues.
It's just on this team that has talent. I mean, my goodness, going back to what you said about they were bottom dwellers a while back, they have done a really good job of drafting and signing pieces these past couple of off seasons to get them in a spot where they can win a championship. But other guys have got to step up because this Atlanta Hawks team is playing with no fear right now, no fear at all.
Well, and usually the team with no fear
They're
in the
hungry.
playoffs, they're the one that's most likely to advance.
Yes.
You'll play loose, no worries, and just go for it. And
you're absolutely right, Chris.
If the 76ers are, I mean, players know how to try to block things out, but if they're thinking about some of these same things, that with the injuries and they blew this last game, they'll start possibly getting in their own head, and we'll see how that affects this next game and how that affects the series from here on out. But momentum definitely seems to be on the Hawks' side right now after that huge comeback.
Yes, and they are another team that is playing inspiring basketball right now. Once again, if guys on this talented 76ers team do not step up, I believe this thing is going 7, and we could have a pretty wild finish in Game 7 of this series.
Oh, I'd like to see that.
I would too. Plain and simple, guys have got to step up for this 76ers team with Embiid's injury and just all offensively, because we all know that the 76ers team plays good defense. I mean, heck, they have 2 players on the first team NBA all defensive team, and that's Embiid and Ben Simmons. Your top two guys on that 76er squad. Mm-hmm. But Ben Simmons has got to step it up. He has got to step it up. You'd like to see the Danny Green of old when he was with San Antonio, popping threes from the perimeter, popping threes when he was with the Toronto Raptors just a couple of seasons ago when they won their first championship.
Right, yeah.
He was huge. He was huge down the stretch with that Toronto Raptors team. He played in the playoffs just like we're accustomed to see Danny Green, but he has yet to show himself in this series. Whether it's playing Shake Milton a little bit more, because let me tell you, he's pretty lethal on the perimeter. I mean, he's knocking down shots when he's in there, but he's mainly coming up off the bench. I think offensively going forward for Doc Rivers, you probably need to put him in your starting lineup to get something going offensively, because you have got to do something in this series to compete offensively with this Atlanta Hawks team that is really good offensively, especially from the perimeter.
Right. Well, especially when you've been struggling.
Yes.
As you have.
Yes. I mean, you have got to make adjustments going forward if you're the Philadelphia 76ers on the offensive side of the ball.
Mm-hmm. Okay. All right. Well, that was a look at the NBA playoff situation at the moment. Later on, we'll take a look forward into this next week. We've already made a few predictions through here, but we'll try to decide who we think is going to be in the finals and in the conference finals, see how it goes. We're moving on to MLB. This past week had a little bit of movement in the standings. Tampa Bay, of course, swept the Orioles.
No surprise there.
Yeah, not the hardest thing in the world to do, but
definitely not.
They're pulling away in the East,
which is crazy because you see how that division is so stacked right now with a young Tampa Bay Rays squad and a young Toronto Blue Jays squad.
Yeah, the Blue Jays can be scary in a few years.
Of course, the Red Sox have actually done a exceptional job of scouting and
coming back from the doldrums,
coaching up their young talent. But of course, they have the money during the offseason to go buy some big-time free agents and plug them into their lineups or pitching staffs And the same goes with the Yankees. So all four teams have really done a good job scouting and developing, but you figured it would be the Yankees and the Red Sox controlling this division, considering that they have the money during free agency each and every offseason to make their ball clubs better.
Well, Tampa Bay is just so scrappy, man. They have no budget, and they'll just get all this talent, this young, amazing talent, put this team together and use analytics and coaching. And, I mean, they've been a thorn in the Yankees side for, it feels like years now.
Yes.
So I would not be shocked if Tampa Bay holds on to this and wins the division this year. But like you said, it's stacked. I mean, the Red Sox were hot earlier this year. They can get right back, take that lead again. I mean, the Yankees, we'll see what happens. They're struggling right now. They had another tough weekend, falling further behind.
Yeah, and I saw something the other day where a reporter asked Yankee manager Aaron Boone about the Yankee struggles so far this season. And he told the reporter, we've got to step it up, plain and simple. And that's exactly what you're going to have to do in a really tough AL East division right now, especially with the Rays playing really good baseball.
Well, and as talented as that team is, the names they have to be sitting at just above 500 is inexcusable. And, I mean, I know that's what Aaron Boone is alluding to there. I mean, there's no option but to pick it up, because it's just ridiculous to have people like Aaron Judge, to have Stanton, to have all this young talent as well, and just
former top prospect in the Cub organization. That the Cubs traded to get Aroldis Chapman in 2016. Gleyber Torres, and shortstop for the Yankees now.
And now they're both with the Yankees again. Or Chapman's back.
Well,
so
once again, that goes back to the Yankees having that money in the offseason where they could go, not only trade him away to get a really good young piece for their new core that they're wanting to build in New York, but you have the money to go back and get one of the premier closers in the game right now and Aroldis Chapman. So
with that group, they got to be up there with the Rays and the Jays and the Red Sox. But we'll see how that goes. Like I said, the Blue Jays, they're fun to watch right now just because it seems they have a bright future in front of them if they can keep that talent.
And I'd like to ask you something real quick, Chris. I've seen where the Toronto Blue Jays are not able to play in Toronto this season due to the pandemic. Do you have any idea where they are playing at this season? Because I still
they're at their AAA Buffalo, in Buffalo.
AAA Buffalo.
So they're just across the line, basically. They're just right across the lake there. Yeah.
Okay. Because I mean, I'm not going to lie to you. I've kind of have had fun out of this. It seems to me like they're playing at a ballpark that you would normally put together a World Baseball Classic at.
Yeah, it does look.
That's what that reminds me of, anyway.
Yeah, it looks a bit like a generic ballpark.
Yes,
Yeah.
But I thank you for answering that, because I had been wondering for quite a while, because I knew they weren't playing. They're not able to play in Toronto. I knew it was somewhere here in the United States, but that's pretty neat for them to be playing in their AAA affiliates.
Well, and it's neat for those fans too. Like, imagine.
Yes.
And we'll see if they how they do with the rest of the year. But imagine if they, win the AL East and they're doing it in their AAA park for those fans. That would be amazing.
And something I wish that that Major League Baseball and Minor League Baseball would do a lot more often, because I don't know if you remember this, but quite often right before the regular season started, so it would pretty much be that stretch where spring training either was about to end or it did end.
Yeah, like those in between. They'd have those in between games.
I remember that the St. Louis Cardinals would play the Memphis Redbirds in Memphis at AutoZone Park. They would play, whatever you want to call it, a scrimmage game or whatever, but they would play both.
Yeah, I remember that.
Both ball clubs would play each other.
Yeah, they should do that more often.
They do. They really need to do that.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd have to look into that. I don't know if that was unique to the Cardinals organization or if other teams do that as well. Like I followed Yankees baseball. I don't remember if they would do that or not.
As a huge baseball fan, I would absolutely love to see that happen around the country. Chicago Cubs play the Iowa Cubs, and Des Moines, Iowa. Just all around the country, these Major League Ball clubs playing their AAA affiliate right before the season starts. It'd just be a great opportunity for each franchise's fan base to get a good look at what the two ball clubs have going into the season.
Well, yeah, and beyond that, yes, for the season, and also give not just the fans but the organization sort of an extra look into the talent they have to see.
Absolutely.
Yeah, to see who's maybe ready to move up soon.
Oh, yes. To that point, baseball, you're playing 162 games. There's going to be a lot of injuries.
It's a marathon.
A lot of injuries over the course of the season. So you definitely want your young talent in the minor leagues to develop, and most of the time probably in a hurry, because going back to Tampa Bay Rays, they don't have the budget to buy players, so they're having to go off of what's in their minor league system.
Yeah, that seems like it'd be something that would benefit, especially teams like the Rays, those smaller markets. It maybe even benefit them more to get an eye into that. So so that was the American League East. Over in the Central, the White Sox swept the Tigers again. Not
a shocker.
Yeah, not a surprise.
Not a shocker.
But they're pulling away in the Central.
Yeah, that's start of the season. You knew that this was the White Sox division to win,
which I'm sure makes you so happy.
Well, me being a Chicago Cub fan for all these years, it's really not a good sight to see them in first place. But even better news, the Cubs tied atop the NL Central with the Milwaukee Brewers after a pretty rocky start to their season.
Oh yeah,
they picked it up here lately. They're playing really good baseball. Over the weekend, swept their arch rival, the St. Louis Cardinals.
Yeah, that's huge.
Wrigley Field. Had a really good series in that one.
Those two seem to be sort of pulling away at the moment,
which is crazy because just like the AL East, I figured this NL Central was going to be a loaded division as well, with the with the additions that the Cincinnati Reds have made, but the Reds losing Trevor Bauer in free agency hurt them.
Oh yeah,
with their pitching staff, and so they're really having to swing it well to keep it up, keep up the pace in this really tough division. And it's really been odd to see the Cardinals struggle as of late, but their pitching has not been all that great. Starting pitching and relief pitching has not been good for them here lately, which is crazy because I had this St. Louis Cardinal team winning this division. But if they don't pick it up pitching wise, or if they don't go out late next month and add a couple of pretty decent arms, then they're going to be in trouble in the second half.
Yeah, they're going to be needing to buy at the trade deadline.
No question, because they have the offensive firepower, especially with the acquisition of Nolan Arenado now in St. Louis. You know, they can swing it, but they're definitely going to have to pitch it going forward, because Cubs and Brewers really starting to pull away.
And it'll be interesting
right
to see,
before the first half.
Yeah, maybe
is over. So
we'll have to see if the Cubs kind of got their slump out of the way early. We have to see if the Brewers kind of falter here as the season goes on.
And I'm glad you brought that up, Chris, because the Brewers right now they're playing a pretty easy stretch in their schedule, which has been able to get them back into things in the NL Central, especially with the Cardinals struggling right now.
And the Cubs having a tough stretch.
They did. They had a tough West Coast stretch where they lost to the San Francisco Giants in that series 3 out of 4 games. They were able to steal 2 or 3 from the San Diego Padres, who were playing really good baseball so far this season. But obviously that sweep over the Cardinals over the weekend was huge for them to remain tied with the Milwaukee Brewers, considering they've been on one of the easiest stretches of their schedule in the early goings of this season.
Yeah, so we'll see where that settles out. But I guess we can stay out west. The Giants and Dodgers are neck and neck right now.
Yes, yes.
The
resurgence of the San Francisco Giants. It's really great to see if you're a baseball fan.
You know, it wasn't that long ago. They were fun to watch out there.
They were, especially in the postseason. It seemed like every odd year they were winning
a
World Series.
Year. Yeah, and
which is remarkable.
Yeah, they were like a dynasty of every other year.
Yes, and then they play that play-in wild card game against the New York Mets, and pretty much get I believe it was a big home run late in that ball game to pick up that win. But you run into the 2000 ended up being the 2016 World Series champion Chicago Cubs in the first round.
Yeah, that made you happy.
Well,
that year made you happy.
Yes, it did. But going into that series, I'm not going to lie to you, I was worried just because of what we just talked about, the San Francisco Giants winning every odd year. Thank the good Lord this was an even year.
Yes, brought in the Cubs' favor.
Yes, and that series, people forget at times that series was 3 outs away from going to a winner-take-all Game 5.
That's true.
Back in Chicago.
Hey, because the World Series that year was so incredible.
The
forget.
Cubs were down 3 runs in the top of the 9th, scored 4 runs to take a 6-5 lead in San Francisco, and then the aforementioned trade that we previously discussed between the Cubs and Yankees.
It all comes full circle.
Deadline deal. Aroldis Chapman is traded to the Chicago Cubs for Gleyber Torres, number 1 ranked prospect in the Cubs farm system. Really good acquisition for both ball clubs at the time.
Well, and hey, they made that trade to win the World Series.
Yes.
And it worked out.
It did. It did. Even though Aroldis Chapman was overused, he was worn out in that World Series. You could tell. But he did exactly what they wanted him to do when they acquired him, and that was to close and finish out ball games, and he was able to do that en route to a World Series title, first in 108 years, I might add.
Yeah, that was crazy.
So, but anyway, the no surprise there with the Los Angeles Dodgers being atop the NL West. Your reigning, defending World Series champion there.
Yeah, I kind of expected them to run away with the division this year, so it's nice to see the Giants.
I actually did not. I expected San Diego to hang around.
Okay.
Lurking in the shadows. Mm-hmm. That's really great. It's really great for baseball. Resurgence of San Francisco. Young San Diego Padres squad playing good, inspiring baseball.
Which, I mean, they could,
and then we know what to expect from LA.
Yeah.
They're the reigning, defending World Series champion, and so you've got a three-headed juggernaut in that division right now. It's great to see. I love it as a baseball fan.
Oh yeah, it's great.
All of you baseball fans out there, you love to see it too.
And then on the other end of the division, we have the Diamondbacks, who have now lost 11 games in a row. As we are recording this, they have the worst record in baseball. Tough time to be an Arizona fan.
It is. That's very unfortunate. Because you really thought when Tony La Russa took that, director of baseball operations job, that he would figure out a way to draft some really good young talent in that organization. But I'll tell you what, probably the biggest blow of them all was for that franchise was whenever he drafted Dansby Swanson, the former All-American shortstop at Vanderbilt. Drafted him number 1 overall a couple years back, traded him to the Atlanta Braves for pitcher Shelby Miller, who I do not believe is even pitching in the league anymore.
So yeah, it's pretty disastrous.
And now Dansby Swanson is a starting shortstop in the league with the Atlanta Braves, and the Atlanta Braves are another really good young team.
Well, and we can stay there. The National League East, the Mets are in first right now, doing pretty good, holding pretty steady, but
which I did not expect.
Yeah.
I did not expect them to be in first place.
Yeah, it's definitely a surprise. Now we'll see if they can hold it.
Yes.
They have a tendency to heartbreak their fans.
They are another team at the deadline that I believe needs to buy.
What do you think they most need to get to add?
That's a great question, Chris. I think they need another bat, and I think they need starting pitching, because we all know Jacob deGrom's injury history.
I'm sure Mets fans probably have some flashbacks, like that'd be the thing to derail their season. So
and it's not only with DeGrom. It's always been the case with Noah Syndergaard, aka Thor, as well. He cannot stay healthy, so they're going to need to get some starting pitching. That's for sure. But it's really a surprise that they are in first place right now in the National League East.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I don't expect the Braves to go away, but
no,
but
no,
it'll be interesting to see if how close it gets, or if the Mets are able to sort of hold this lead steady. I'll be kind of surprised if they do. Honestly, I expect a close race.
I expect Atlanta to pull away in the second half, just like anybody, any other baseball fan would. But if the Mets can add at the trade deadline, look out, because they already made a great acquisition in free agency with the acquisition of all-league shortstop Francisco Lindor.
Mm-hmm.
Really good player.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Getting him from Cleveland, signing former Detroit Tiger great catcher in James McCann.
So some smart moves. Had some smart moves.
Yes,
and I mean, you know me, J. Mike. My number one World Series I want to see is Yankees Cubs. I want to see that one day.
Me too. Which we were obviously very close to seeing that in 2003.
Oh yeah, we were.
If things would have played out differently.
Yeah, that year wasn't great for either of us. That didn't end great for either of us. But second on that would be another Subway Series. I'd love to see a Yankees Mets.
That would be a lot of fun as well.
Yeah. So I'd be happy if the Mets could hold on here and pull it out.
Yeah. Another fun series would be L.A. Dodgers versus L.A. Angels.
Oh, yeah, like a freeway series. And, I mean, there's a good chance of that this year. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll see what happens.
Angels are playing good baseball as of late. Joe Madden, he has always been a great manager of being able to get young players to buy into his philosophy and how he approaches the game. If these young Angels can keep it up, that's another team that could be looking to add at the trade deadline coming up next month.
Yeah, they're hot right now. They're gaining ground. I mean, the Athletics,
which is crazy.
Yeah, the Athletics are on top right now, and they had a good weekend against the Royals. But the Angels aren't far behind.
Yes, it's crazy considering the awful start to the season for them.
Yeah, that's right. I almost forgot about that, but they had a rough start.
They did. They really did. But that just goes to show you how great of a manager Joe Madden is. He took a Tampa Bay Ray squad to the World Series in 2008.
Yeah, that was like the real ascent of their success.
Yes.
Was, him and the talent they brought in, the scouting and all that work. That was when they started to really take off.
And he goes to Chicago, inherits a young group there, turns them from lovable losers into lovable winners, and ends a 108-year title drought in Chicago, most infamous drought in sports at that time.
Said we don't need no Billy Goat around here.
Yes, and boy was that one broken. But thing of it is he's done it at his previous two stops. He's been able to change the culture from losing into having fun, and whenever you're able to do that, and you get your players to buy in, you start to win, and that's what's happening right now. I hope this continues throughout the remainder of the season, because quite frankly, I'm a Joe Madden fan. Just by his managerial style, and of course I have a soft spot for him. Turning and being a part of breaking that 108-year-old drought.
Oh yeah, well I'm a fan too, just because he seems like a guy that's great for the players.
Yes.
And well, like you mentioned with the young talent, he seems really good at coaching up players.
Yes.
And it's just fun to see managers like that. And it'll be exciting to see if the Angels, I mean, who knows, they might just continue to improve throughout the season. I wouldn't, at this point, I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, I'm surprised at the how hot they are now, but if they just keep this up and keep getting better,
which they're in a division where it's up for grabs.
Oh yeah, for sure.
The only team, you know, the old cliche, to be the best you have to beat the best. And even though they're cheaters, they're still the best in that division. They have been for quite a few years now. They've proven it. You know, if you want to win that division, you're going to have to dethrone the Houston Astros.
And I will love whoever does it.
And this could very well be the team that does it.
Yeah, it'd be.
But Joe Madden has been great for baseball in the aspect of he changes the culture everywhere he goes. The Tampa Bay Rays have their culture.
That's a huge culture shift to have to do there. I mean, think Tampa Bay Rays 15 years ago.
Yes, but it just seems like they've carried that over into this Kevin Cash era.
Oh yeah, they're so strong still.
Which, heck, not that many months ago, they're playing for a World Series title. So you've seen that culture change. You saw the Chicago Cubs culture change when he inherited a over 100 loss team. Crazy thing about it is you know, Joe Madden leaves the Tampa Bay Rays for the Chicago Cubs. Tampa Bay Rays go out and get a former Major League catcher to replace him. Okay. Of course, 2 years ago, Joe Madden and the Cubs decided to part ways. We have another pattern here. The Cubs replaced Joe Madden with a former Major League catcher who was on that 2016 World Series champion team in David Ross.
A real player's guy.
And now Joe Madden is the manager of the Angels, but you hope to heck that he remains with the Angels, because I'm here to tell you, the last time they were really, really relevant, they won the World Series title in 2002, and Joe Madden was an assistant coach on that staff under Mike Scioscia.
I forgot about that.
Joe Madden is trying to create a culture like he's done at his two previous stops in Tampa Bay and Chicago. He is creating a culture. But it also helps that he was a part of that 2002 World Series championship team. And he not only does he know how to get it done, but he's been in that organization before when they reached the highest of highs.
And I mean, Los Angeles seems to be a perfect fit for him anyway. Like,
yes,
it seemed like that's where he really wanted to go.
Yes, because he has a West Coast philosophy. Anyway, I mean, heck, you look at him half the time, and you know, you pretty much call him a hippie, because I mean, let's be frank. You know, he's got one of those vans that you. I know he does, because I remember this. He has one of those vans that, you know, somebody would drive in the 60s or 70s.
Oh, you mean like the Volkswagen thing? Or?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. So you got that going on.
Just needs to put on some Beatles
and I know back when he was in Chicago, he would ride his bicycle to Wrigley Field, which I thought was pretty cool.
That's probably why he's in such good shape.
I always heard, I think he's in his 70s. He is a great manager. Of course, I wish he were still in Chicago. I hate things didn't work out. I wish they would have kept going forward. But I'm so grateful to him for changing the culture in the Chicago Cubs organization to where it is today. And going back to the points that I made for the carryover from this regime to that regime, the culture has remained the same, and that culture is winning.
Well, and that's what you want as an organization.
And but not only winning, but having fun.
Right. I mean,
and that's what you teach. That's what you teach these young kids that are playing the travel baseball these days. You know, you want to teach them how to have fun. And when that happens, I do believe that the winning will follow.
Oh yeah, if you're not having fun, you're not going to win as a team.
No question about it.
You're going to get
no question about it. But Joe Madden, he is he's one of a kind, that's for sure. But the impact that he has made in Major League Baseball, second to none. He's changed the culture from dead last to first or pretty dang near winning a World Series championship in Tampa Bay. You know, from that worst to first type of thing. So he's absolutely been great for Major League Baseball, and I just hope to see him continue to change the culture and revive this Los Angeles Angels organization.
Yeah, we'll see what happens here long term with the Angels, but first results here looking pretty good. So we'll see what happens.
Yes. I hope, me being a Joe Madden fan, I hope it can continue in LA for him.
Yeah, hopefully so. Well, I think that got us through around baseball. Seemed like we hit all the top things for this past week, so we'll move on, and we'll move to the college level.
8 teams advance to the College World Series that start this upcoming weekend in Omaha, Nebraska, but we are fixing to dive in to the super regional round of the NCAA tournament. Chris, go ahead and tell us our first game that we're going to talk and discuss about.
Well, I think you got to start at the biggest surprise, which is NC State knocking off Arkansas 2 games to 1.
Shocker. Absolute shocker.
Yeah, and especially after Arkansas just knocked the doors off NC State in that first game. What was it? It was like
21-0, I believe, or 21 to.
I think they had 21-1, I think,
or 21-2, maybe.
Yeah, I'll check here in a second. But yeah, that was. I mean, at that point, I figured, well, Arkansas, they're gonna come out of this and be just fine. But no, they.
Lack of pitching really hurt that team this year. Lack of consistent pitching other than Kevin Kopps. The National Player of the Year, probably going to be your Golden Spikes Award winner here in the next couple of weeks. I wouldn't. I would be shocked if it wasn't Kevin Kopps from Arkansas. Also, he was the SEC Player of the Year, rightfully so. They had the best team by far in the SEC this year. Number one nationally ranked for a number of weeks this season.
Yeah, I mean they looked like they were the best team for a while, and it was 21-2. By the way, I just checked.
21-2.
I just remembered that 21 number jumping out.
There was another series I thought where I thought where it was. It was the Stanford
Stanford, Texas Tech.
Stanford, Texas Tech. But we'll dive into that in a moment. But back to Arkansas. You figured during this NCAA tournament run that they were going to have to outslug their opponent, or whoever they matched up with, and they certainly needed to do that over the weekend, and they did not. After that onslaught in game one, the offense slowed down quite a bit the next two.
Yeah, it's like they blew everything they had in that first game and then had nothing left.
Yes.
But
yes.
I mean, what about NC State though? Just hanging in there and not feeling lost after that first game, and to come back and win that series that against Arkansas, one of the top SEC teams. That's something.
Not a lot of depth in that Arkansas pitching staff. They relied on Kevin Kopps a ton, and it came back to bite them in game 3, where he was announced as the starter prior to game time in game 3, and pitched really well. Don't get me wrong, but gave up 2 huge home runs that propelled NC State to this monumental upset over the number 1 team in the country, number 1 national seed in this NCAA tournament.
Yeah,
and you just hate to see you just hated to see that happen to such a great pitcher, great player all throughout this season. If we could put him in Omaha, we absolutely would, because he deserves the right to pitch in Omaha. But unfortunately, it just didn't happen for this Arkansas Razorback Ball Club. And once again, it hasn't happened since 1999, where the number 1 overall national seed in the NCAA tournament went on to win a national championship. So I guess we're going to have to wait another season to find that out.
That's a crazy stat. I saw that the other day. That's something.
1999 Miami Hurricanes were the last team to do it. Everybody thought this Arkansas team was invincible, but
well, once you get through the juggernaut of SEC, like the competition they have, I mean, it's not a bad opinion to have.
But if you watched Arkansas throughout the year, you knew that their pitching was a concern, and how often were they going to use Kevin Kopps? And let me tell you, they used him quite a lot in the postseason. They used him a good bit in the SEC tournament. Winning their way to their first SEC tournament championship in program history, rightfully so, which is crazy that was their first SEC tournament title since Dave Van Horn has been there. You figured he's been to Omaha. He's taken Arkansas to 6 College World Series appearances, I believe. You figured he would have at least won a couple of SEC tournament titles, but turns out that this year was his first. You just really hate it for Kevin Kopps, because he coming back from missing out, missing a whole season, and he really had to reinvent himself, and he discovered how to throw that, what they're calling the gyro pitch.
Oh, yeah.
That has really, really caused a lot of hitters to swing and miss. Completely changed his game this year to where he might here in the next week or so he might be a first round draft pick for somebody.
I mean, it's definitely possible.
I know a lot of Arkansas fans are kind of wishing that Dave Van Horn probably would have went to the bullpen there in the 9th inning and taken Kopps out in a 2-2 tie there in the top of the 9th. And it also didn't help that he pitched He pitched, I believe, 2 innings in Game 2. So the NC State lineup had an opportunity to see him prior to Game 3.
Well, in the sense, like you said, they could see his stuff. They knew were familiar with him, and it probably made that gyro pitch that they're talking about a little bit less mysterious. I'm sure that helped them.
Credit the NC State pitching staff this weekend.
Yeah, after that game
getting
one.
back into that series.
Yeah, after that
21-2 Arkansas offensive onslaught in Game 1. Credit the NC State coaching staff and pitching staff making critical, much-needed adjustments in Game 2 and Game 3, pulling off this huge upset over the number 1 seeded Razorbacks.
Yeah, for sure. And you mentioned Stanford earlier. They beat Texas Tech, 2 straight games.
Which that was a absolute beatdown by Stanford over Texas Tech. Something I did not see coming.
No,
Stanford absolutely slugged it over the weekend.
Yeah, it wasn't. There were some good series this weekend. That really wasn't one of them.
I believe it was either 15 or 16 to 3, maybe in that first game, and then a 9-0 Stanford shutout in Game 2 to sweep that best of 3 series to advance the Cardinal to Omaha, their first appearance since 2008.
Then let's see, Texas beating Southern Florida,
which
2 games as well.
That first game was, that 9th inning was incredible. Texas up 3-0, 3 outs away from taking Game 1. There was a solo homer to start the 9th, and then that big 2-run bomb to tie it up with 2 outs in the top of the 9th to tie the game for USF, and you could really feel the momentum start to shift over into that USF dugout. Texas using the old Lee Corso cliche, not so fast, my friend. And end up getting that walk-off hit to win Game 1 was huge for Texas, and then they're able to put USF away early and often with a really good offensive day by that Longhorn lineup.
Yeah, they did a good job taking care of business,
and they were able to sweep the Bulls and take care of business, and just another return trip for the Texas Longhorns.
Yeah, they're pretty familiar.
Yes, something that they're very familiar at going. It's a program that can consistently has gotten there, so that doesn't surprise me that they're back in Omaha.
Well, and then we have Mississippi State beat Notre Dame. That just finished yesterday.
Yes. Mississippi State Bulldogs are going to their 3rd consecutive College World Series appearance.
And that was a pretty fun series. That first game was crazy.
It was.
And then
Notre Dame having that huge lead. And then errors, as we all know, will come back to bite you, especially against Mississippi State on their home ground at Duty Noble Field. You cannot make mistakes.
When you get the cowbells going, it'll get in your head.
Yes, you cannot make mistakes against that ball club at Duty Noble, especially. I mean that crowd will that crowd will let you have it for all 9 innings.
Yeah, they'll eat you up. And then, I mean, I thought, though, the third game looked like it could kind of be a repeat. State got out to that huge lead. Notre Dame kept kind of clawing back. I was hoping that they'd kind of make a game out of it. We'd maybe get a thrilling final inning there, but
I
State held on and they didn't get too close.
Yes. I'm like you. I expected that game 3 to really be a nail biter, but State did what they had to do to hold off that pretty good offensive hitting ball club of Notre Dame, which they really I didn't know much about Notre Dame.
Well, you don't really think of them much as a baseball school.
Right. Now, you do think of Paul Maneri, who just retired at LSU. You do think of him back in his Notre Dame days when he was head coach there, and how he built the program. But it's actually kind of nice to see a school like Notre Dame having a great season in baseball and being one win away from the College World Series and giving Mississippi State all that they had. I mean, kudos to the Irish for not backing down, because let's face it, Duty Noble Field, it's one of the meccas of college baseball, and it's certainly a hostile environment, that's for sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, Notre Dame looked strong all postseason, and like you said, they gave Mississippi State all they had. It's just, I mean, I believe Mississippi State is just the better baseball team, and that showed.
Yes, and certainly it doesn't hurt that you've been there.
Oh yeah,
they're
comfortable.
You've been there consistently. Before the series win over the weekend, they had been to two consecutive College World Series. So, I mean, it only helps you out when you're at your home ballpark, Duty Noble Field, and you've gone to Omaha the past 2 seasons, so you're expected to do it, and it's just about going out there and taking care of business, and that's what the Bulldogs did over the weekend.
Well, and speaking of taking care of business, let's talk about another Mississippi team that's going to be missing out again. They didn't take care of business. Arizona beat Ole Miss.
Yes,
over in Tucson.
Yes. That Arizona lineup has a lot of power, a lot of firepower.
Yeah, there were some high scoring games in this one,
and I was, that did not shock me at all, considering both squads do not have much pitching at all. We knew that going into that series, but it was going to be about which of the two high-powered offenses was going to slug more, and then which pitching staff was going to hold their counterpart to the fewer runs, and it ended up being Arizona.
And not even really a close game in this series. Arizona blows out the first game.
Yes.
Ole Miss blows out the second, and then to finish it off, Arizona blows out the third.
Right. Yeah. It's just not shocking at all, considering the offensive firepower of both squads. But like I said, it just came down to which team was going to pitch better when it mattered the most. And Arizona had it in Game 3. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, the Ole Miss pitchers looked just more gassed than the Arizona pitching staff. I mean, as difficult as we knew the hitters would be, the Arizona pitchers in Game 3 did exactly what they had to do.
Yes,
they made the Ole Miss hitting look pretty average in 2 of those 3 games. So, I mean, props to Arizona.
Yeah, and you knew Ole Miss had that firepower in their lineup, but the inconsistency all season.
Yeah, that's it. Not consistent at all.
I mean, yeah, but you knew they had it in them because they were. I believe they were second statistically in offensive categories in the SEC, right behind Arkansas.
But that just wasn't there for this.
Right, but you knew that they were going to have to outslug Arizona to be able to advance to the College World Series, and game 1 and 3 did not happen. They always felt more confident with Doug Nikhazy on the mound in game 2, which you knew when that cat was on the mound that you were winning that ball game, but it really surprised me the run support that they actually gave him.
Yeah, we needed to spread that out a little bit more
in game 2, because it certainly didn't happen against Florida State in the regional winter bracket game.
No, yeah, that was a close one.
Only four runs scored there for the Ole Miss offense in a 4-3 win over Florida State. But going back to your point about pitching, Chris, I thought Jay Johnson, the Arizona head coach, did something that I wish a lot more head coaches or managers, whatever you want to call them, would do, and that's a pitcher by committee in a winner-take-all game like that, especially when you don't have the pitching and it hasn't been there for you all season and you're having to rely on your offense to win you ball games. But if you do a pitcher by committee, pitch a certain guy for maybe 2 or 3 innings, if you can do that in a winner-take-all game, I believe that's a recipe for success in a winner-take-all game. Is a pitcher by committee approach in that type of situation.
Well, it reminds me of the opener strategy from the Rays that's worked out for them, especially in postseason play. When,
absolutely,
they know they're spread thin, so they use that strategy, and it tends to work out. Some people have tried to copy it in the MLB, and it hasn't worked out quite as well as it has for the Rays. But, yeah, it definitely worked out for the Wildcats.
Yes, because it keeps your counterpart off balanced with scouting reports. The starter in Game 3 was a reliever that had only started, I believe, the whole entire year 2 games. And I thought that was brilliant on Jay Johnson's part because, the Ole Miss coaching staff doesn't know much about him.
Right.
You're gathering up scouting reports and as much information as you possibly can going into that series, and that guy was not towards or probably not even on their list at all. And Jay Johnson's like, here's a wild card for you. Let's see if you can hit this guy after you scored, what was it, 12 runs on us the night before.
Right.
I thought it was absolutely brilliant. And that's Jay Johnson saying, hey look, if you want to get to Omaha, well, look, I've got some wild cards up my sleeve, and boy did he throw them at that offensive team at Ole Miss.
Oh yeah, that definitely worked. And let's see, we got around Vanderbilt beating East Carolina.
That was a really good series.
Yeah, even though Vandy won both games, but
yes,
good competitive series.
Pitching was phenomenal those 2 games.
Pitching
was absolutely phenomenal. If you love good old-fashioned pitcher duels, boy, did you have a treat in Nashville over the weekend.
That's something we're used to with Vandy as well.
Yes, I mean,
well known for pitching.
Yes, especially with quite arguably, in my opinion, the number 1 and number 2 overall pick in the MLB draft coming up, and Kumar Rocker and Jack Leiter, son of former Major League great Al Leiter.
Oh yeah,
you know him very well, Chris.
For sure. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, just two outstanding pitchers, showing how dominant that they have been in their college careers before they go off to pro baseball. But boy, did they put on a show. But kudos to the ECU starters as well. They accepted the challenge that was in front of them, knowing that they were going up against quite possibly your number 1 and number 2 overall pick. I mean, they didn't let up at all. They said, "Hey, anything you can do, I can do better." And they went toe to toe with those boys. Just
not quite enough.
Not enough offense, but that's not going to happen against those two guys.
Yeah, I mean,
unfortunately for the Pirates.
Right.
But incredible job by Cliff Godwin though this season. It's just that was a tough draw. He knew it. That program knew it. I'm sure the fans knew it. But just an incredible 2 games of pitching performances for sure. Was really fun to watch.
Oh yeah, fun series. And then the weird series where Virginia beat Dallas Baptist at South Carolina. But that was a fun series as well.
Something that will never happen again. Where the supposed to be host of the Super Regional is not even playing at home.
Right.
Not even playing in their home ballpark.
There's such a weird, strange turn of events, the way things were set up. How it went down.
It did. Absolutely crazy. But that was a fascinating series as well over the weekend. Those 2 teams literally went back and forth at each other.
Well, yeah, it looked
and it was the testament, of course, in any sport, anything you do in life, who wants it more? And it ended up being the Cavaliers that wanted it more with a huge grand slam in Game 3 to take the lead over Dallas Baptist.
Dallas Baptist looked like they had it. And then that grand slam just completely... I mean, it just didn't feel the same after that for obvious reasons. I mean, that pretty much put away the game for Virginia.
Yes, but just an incredible series. Just back and forth, both teams. I remember Game 1, Virginia had a 5-2 lead. And this was right before that long rain delay when they top of the 9th inning, and they have this long rain delay. But Dallas Baptist comes back, puts 4 up on the board to take a 6-5 lead. They have that long rain delay, and by some miracle, Dallas Baptist is able to come out of that rain delay and shut them down. 3 up, 3 down in the 9th to take, the 1-0 series lead, to take Game 1. And then Game 2 and 3 was a chess match.
Yeah, it was so fun to just see them go back and forth.
Just great baseball being played in that series. And like I said, it just came down to who wanted it more. Who was going to make the adjustments? Who was really going to take the bull by the horns, so to speak, and do whatever it took to win that winner take all Game 3, and just a huge grand slam late in that ball game in Game 3 helps the Cavaliers advanced to Omaha.
Yep. They're moving on, and another team that's moving on that's super excited, Tennessee beating LSU, which any other year would be a surprise, but not so much this year.
Yes, I will say that I was surprised, though. I expected that series to go 3 games.
Oh, yeah, true. I expected to be close.
Paul Maneri made a pitching mistake in Game 1, in my opinion. I thought he should have stuck with his starter a little bit longer. I believe when he took his starter out, he was at the 76. He had thrown 76 pitches up to that point, but he was effective against that pretty good Tennessee lineup. And you knew LSU didn't have much in their bullpen other than Fontenot, which it's a shame that he didn't even pitch at all over the weekend. And especially when Maneri had him ready in the bullpen in that regional final game against Oregon. Got into some trouble there, up by 2, 9-7 in the bottom of the ninth. Got into some trouble there, and Oregon made a game out of it.
Oh yeah, that was an exciting game there.
But you've got Fontenot ready, your best arsenal in your bullpen, and you don't go to him at all. I just didn't understand that. But you figured Maneri would have stuck with the starter, which had done a fabulous job of keeping that Tennessee offense unbalanced.
Well, and he didn't have
and comfortable like they had been all year long,
and only 76 pitches.
And yes, absolutely.
It's not still he could go another 20 at least, and probably get you another inning, maybe 2 if things go well,
and then give the ball to Fontenot to finish him off. Now, obviously, LSU lacked on the offensive end as well in this series, for sure. But you knew you were going to have to pitch it against that Tennessee lineup this weekend, especially at their house. And I just didn't understand the move there, taking out a starter in Game 1. And
also, it's Game 1. You want to save your bullpen.
You do
as much as you can.
You do, and once again, especially in a series where LSU really had to pitch it. But as we know, he takes out his starter, and the Tennessee offense just pounces. On a couple of guys out of their bullpen. Next thing you know, Game 1 is in the bag for Tennessee. And then you go to Game 2. Maneri rolls out Marcineau, and he just had a bad day with his mechanics. His stuff was just not there that day.
And when you're in a best of 3,
yes.
that'll kill you, especially when you're at the do or die stage.
Right. And you figured Maneri was going to go right after Game 1. He was going to go with Marcineau and then saving Labus in Game 3. But
you got to get there first.
Exactly. His mistake in Game 1 really hurt him from being able to do that. And really, I think that's what changed the tide in this series. Early going in game one was not keeping the starter in the ball game. And Tennessee just got in their normal groove offensively, like we've seen them accustomed to doing. And the next thing you knew, this series was over.
Yep.
I mean, absolute beatdown in game two, and series is over. Series, game, match, Vols going to Omaha.
So that means you got Tennessee in a bracket with Texas, Mississippi State, and Virginia. And then the other bracket is Vandy, Stanford, Arizona, and NC State. Later on at the end, we'll talk about who we think will win each of those.
And I'm really intrigued on that. The side of the bracket that begins play Saturday with the 4 teams consisting of NC State, Stanford,
Vandy, and Arizona.
Because NC State showed you that they could pitch it. We all know Vandy can pitch it. With their 2 starters. Now there's not a whole lot much after that, but let me tell you, you can go pretty deep and get you in a catbird seat real quick with Rocker and Leiter at Omaha. If they're on like they were over the weekend against DCU. But then you've got the other 2 squads that showed you some firepower over the weekend. Showed you that they can slug the ball.
Oh yeah, well, and I'll definitely have my eyes on NC State. Like to see if they can Cinderella their way to the final. Maybe be like,
wouldn't that be something?
Their basketball team, win the championship. And
yes, and you right off the bat, what comes to mind for me, speaking of Cinderellas in the College World Series, that you think of that went on a run in Omaha and won it all, were the 2008 Fresno State Bulldogs.
Oh yeah,
and the 2016 Coastal Carolina Chanticleers.
Yeah, those were some fun champions to have.
So
those Cinderella stories are always fun to watch.
And this is NC State's third and only appearance in the College World Series. So, this is not the norm for them, but they. Let me tell you, you're feeling quite confident after upsetting the number 1 nationally ranked seed in the Arkansas Razorbacks. So if you're an NC State Wolfpack fan, you're feeling really good going into the College World Series this weekend.
Those players have to be feeling confident as well. They just can't get too much of a big head. Got to stay focused, and it'll be fun to see what they can do when they get there.
And you're going up against a really good offensive team in Stanford that they showed you against Texas Tech over the weekend. So that's going to be fun, and Vandy and Arizona's going to be fun as well.
Oh yeah, we'll have to. Well, like I said, we'll make predictions later on who we think will win, but we'll keep our eye on that, and that'll be fun to watch.
So, Chris, tell us a little bit about what's going on in racing right now.
All right. Well, so the Formula One race was supposed to take place in Canada, but like Toronto, the Blue Jays, they weren't able. They're not able to play there right now, and the race was canceled earlier this year.
Oh, you've got to be kidding
me.
So
that didn't happen.
Gosh.
Yeah, it's unfortunate, but there's another race coming up this weekend, so don't have to wait too long. One thing I watched on Saturday night that was really fun was the SRX, the Superstar Racing Experience, had their debut race, and it was on CBS. It was a great show. Really good racing. A lot of side-by-side and good short track beating and banging style racing. They're going for that sort of local home track, but with superstars. So you have, the Tony Stewart was one of the people who helped start it. You got Bill Elliott out there, but also some younger drivers, and it was just a great show. There were a few little hiccups. One being that,
as you would expect.
yeah, like one of them was that. So the rules are that if your starting car that you're in like has an issue, you get a backup car, even if you're like halfway through the night. And the reason why is because all the cars are provided by the league itself. It's like the old IROC series where the cars are all equal and they're provided by the league. So if you have an issue with your car, you get a new one. The only issue was when Greg Biffle had issues with his car, he got a new car that had fresher tires, not brand new tires, but they were fresher than the rest of the
other competitors.
Cars. Yeah. So he had an advantage for like 20 or 30 laps where he was able to just come from the back and take the lead. And granted, that was fun to watch in its own right to see him move through the field like that. But that's something they're going to have to figure out in the future. Maybe put enough laps on them to where they'll be even if they have to replace the car for the last stage. Because it's 3 different stages. You have an opening time session, a heat, a second heat where they invert the field to start it, and then the final, the main event to close it out, which was 100 laps this first race. So that was one little hiccup. The second one was that in the name of entertainment, they threw a caution just for fun, basically. It was just to tighten up the field and make the racing closer. The only problem was the racing was actually pretty close. Like the first 4 cars were within, I believe it was within a couple of seconds of each other. So there was a decent battle for first. They just weren't side by side, but the race was happening.
Oh, yeah.
It was naturally, pretty interesting.
And I'm sure as a racing fan, that's something you love to see.
Oh yeah, just to watch it play out and see who wins in the long run. But they decided to throw a caution just to bunch the field back up for the final 50 laps or so, something like that. And I mean, I appreciate their honesty that they were like, yeah, we're just throwing this because like there wasn't an issue. We just wanted to. I mean, I'm glad they were honest, but moving forward, I would rather they just not do that at all and just let the racing happen.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. So, especially since they started this whole marketing push to make this series, they're like, we're bringing real racing back. We're not going to do some of the gimmicky stuff that NASCAR does. And then they throw a gimmick in there like that. So, hopefully they can sort those 2 little things out because otherwise the racing was great. The cars are real racy.
That's great.
And
that's great to hear.
They have some young superstars in, some old superstars. And the guy that won, his name was Doug Coby. And it's interesting because he was the local superstar. Like, he's just the local guy who races that track a lot. I mean, he's raced a lot of short tracks like that. He's well known in the lower racing series, but he was the
track that he's more comfortable with, that he knows how to navigate.
Oh yeah, for sure. He knows the track well, and the local fans went crazy when he took the lead and he won the race. So
that's incredible.
Yeah, so it's neat to have a series where you pit old veterans against young up and coming stars and local heroes, as they call them. So I'm interested to see where the series moves forward from there. And then in NASCAR, we had the All-Star race this past weekend. Honestly, not super exciting. They had the low horsepower package and high downforce, so the cars stayed close together, but very hard to pass. It'd be interesting for 2 or 3 laps, and then it'd be just so hard to pass that it wasn't a terrible race, but definitely not one to write home about. Very mediocre.
And you I remember over the weekend I saw where you put on Twitter, and I absolutely agree with you that the All-Star contest in each sport need to be more competitive.
Yeah, they're just honestly not all that interesting anymore. I don't know. I don't think it's just because I was a kid and it was fun to see like the All-Stars. I think it's also that it seems like the players, I mean, it's nice to see the players be loose and have fun, but it just doesn't really mean much. So you're just kind of watching players or drivers go through the motions and just be there.
Which is sad because you figured that the players that get selected for having a great first half of their season, you figured that they would be anxious and willing to put on a show in these All-Star contests, but that doesn't seem to be the case anymore, which is sad.
Yeah,
from a sports fan's perspective.
And NASCAR's been trying everything. They've thrown 100 different formats at this All-Star event for the past few years, and they moved it to Texas this year, which, I mean, Texas is kind of it was just a bone to throw at Texas because they moved the regular season race at Texas to another track, Circuit of the Americas. But they had a confusing format that I can't even begin to rattle off to you here because there were like 100 different rules and inverts and stages, and your average fan just turning on the race to see what would happen would not know what was going on, because even the diehard fans aren't going to know what's going on. So I mean, I say all that, I don't want to complain too much. The race was okay. Kyle Larson won again. Hendrick Motorsports is on fire right now. Kyle Larson and Hendrick seems like a match made in heaven, and Hendrick is back to the old days of Jeff Gordon and Jimmy Johnson, it seems like, winning over and over. So that was this past weekend.
Good old days are back.
Yeah, for Hendrick and their fans. If you're a fan of another team, you might be wanting to close your eyes a little bit as the dominance commences.
Yes, for sure.
And then this coming week, we go to Nashville Super Speedway, which is interesting because they haven't been there since 2012, I believe. Yeah.
Wow.
Shut down in 2012. So
how come the shutdown there?
Well, first of all, the Cup Series never went there. It was just like the now Xfinity and Truck Series.
Oh, okay.
But it was kind of it wasn't a very popular race.
I got you.
It's not a super great track. We'll see how it does this weekend. I think a lot of people don't have their hopes up high. I mean, I'm always hopeful that it'll be a good race. We'll see what happens.
Okay.
What people are really excited for is hopefully returning to the Nashville Fairgrounds track one day, which is a fun, a really nice short track that NASCAR hasn't been to since it's, I think, the early 80s. We'll see. This going to Nashville Super Speedway is kind of a way to just reintroduce NASCAR to that area in the hopes, we believe, of going to Nashville Fairgrounds in the future.
Okay.
And that's in the process. Dale Earnhardt Jr. is really working hard to get there, so we'll see what happens.
So they're really promoting this thing.
Yeah,
to the fullest extent.
And the track is already the race has already been sold out, and they had to add extra grandstands. Great. So it seems like fans in the area are interested in NASCAR coming back.
Which we all know in the South. The NASCAR fan base is absolutely incredible. They're going to pack out each and every single race there is, especially in the South.
Yeah. So, things are looking good. I'm excited to see how the race in Nashville goes. I mean, if I had to predict who's going to come out on top, you got to have Hendrick, especially Kyle Larson at the top of that. But any of his drivers are... he has 4 teams right now that are just on top of their game. All right, well, before we get to the random page of the day, we should probably go ahead and talk about this upcoming week a little bit. So first of all, of course, we're going to finally find out who is going to be in the NBA Conference Finals joining the Suns. So let's see. Who do we think? We talked about this a little bit earlier, but who do you think is going to join them there between the Jazz and the Clippers?
I believe the Clippers will advance to the conference finals. But I believe the series will go 7 games.
So we'll get some last game dramatics.
We will, and I think what really helps the Los Angeles Clippers what I like out of them to advance to the Western Conference Finals is the fact that they won every single road game in their first round series against the Dallas Mavericks, and that's going to come into play if they do go 7 games, which I predict. The LA Clippers have pretty much the old cliche, been there, done that. LA Clippers will be ready for a Game 7 in Salt Lake City, Utah. I do believe they get it done on the road. They advance to the Western Conference Finals. Should be a really fun matchup there.
Okay. Well, and then we go from the West to the East with Bucks and Nets.
Which that's been a crazy series thus far. Nets first 2 games just dominant over the Bucks.
But you think with those injuries,
yes,
the Bucks are probably gonna eke this one out.
I think so, Chris. I think so. I like the Bucks in 7.
Another 7-game series.
I like the Milwaukee Bucks in 7. I believe one of those superstars will come back. Critical Game 5 in Brooklyn. James Harden is doubtful tonight, but if you get into desperation mode too quickly, it's going to come back to bite you one way or another, whether it's in this series or next. And you especially don't want it to happen next series when everything's on the line, especially like I said in a season where it's up for grabs. I just don't believe Brooklyn's going to be healthy enough going forward in this series to pull it out. So that's why I like the Milwaukee Bucks in 7.
Okay, and then they'll be going up against either the 76ers or the Hawks.
Yeah, it's another crazy series where I think it could go either way.
And that probably means it could go to Game 7.
Yes, this is a very difficult series to predict a winner right now, considering what we talked about earlier, Chris, with Joel Embiid, his partially torn meniscus really bothering him in that second half last night, that 18-point collapse where he went 0 for 12 from the field.
Right. But if you had to pick one of these two,
I'm going to go with the 76ers, but I think they get it done in 6.
Okay.
Just because of Atlanta, they haven't experienced the playoffs as much. They're a relatively new group to the playoffs. It's just because they're young. Pardon the pun, Trae Young. But I mean, Trae Young has been incredible in this series, and so have the Atlanta Hawks. They have really they've really played with grit and pride in this series. They have really gone toe-to-toe with the number one seeded 76ers, but I believe the 76ers win the next two to close this thing out.
And then that would pit the Bucks versus the 76ers if both of those scenarios pan out.
Yes. And you always in the back of my mind, Chris, is Doc Rivers's his inability to get over the hump at times in the playoffs as a head coach. Now, we all know he won the NBA championship in 2008 with the Boston Celtics, but after that, it's been nothing but a uphill battle for him. It seems like in the playoffs, he's let plenty of playoff series get away from him in a negative way, or from a coaching aspect of it. Whether it's his didn't have his players ready to play, or he was making the wrong substitutions, not making certain halftime adjustments, in game adjustments at that. And so that certainly always hits me in the back of my mind is that's also in this series with the Atlanta Hawks as well. Me talking about earlier with players for the 76ers have got to step up. I believe they'll end up doing that.
We transition from that to baseball, which we're just going to take a quick peek at sort of two of the biggest series this week, one in the American League, one in the National League. Both are happening right now. They've already played game one, but the Rays and White Sox, two big boys in the American League right now.
Oh, that'll be fun, Chris.
Yeah, and coincidentally, both of these games, first one were won 5-2. Rays took the first one against the White Sox.
Okay.
And of course the Mets beat the Cubs in game one.
Yeah, I of course, me being the big Cub fan that I am, I checked a little bit of that out last night. Was obviously disappointed in the Cubs offense last night, only scoring 2 after the big series sweep over the arch rival St. Louis Cardinals over the weekend.
I think it'll be a close series, and I mean, I think I may lean towards the Mets a little just because they seem to be hot and at home right now.
Yeah, and the Cubs are much better at Wrigley Field, of course.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Especially with Wrigley Field going back to full capacity, which is wonderful to see, I might add, after the pandemic. Last year fans were not able to attend ball games, but you just love to see the fact that all sporting events are either close to or back at 100% capacity. So the Cubs are a much better home team, as you would expect. But I would have to agree with you on this one, Chris. Yeah.
Well, and similarly, of course, we got a little bit of a preview, so maybe it's not totally fair. But as hot as they are, I expect the Rays to beat the White Sox as well. I mean, honestly, wouldn't be surprised if they ended up sweeping the White Sox as good as they've been. I mean, we'll see.
Breaking news, people.
I mean, the Rays are just listen. They know how to give me a little bit of hope as a Yankee fan, and then just crush them. So I'm sure that they'll probably come in and just sweep the White Sox.
But that sure is a fun, looks like a fun series though on paper.
Oh yeah, I mean, I think
a battle between two first place teams in the American League, it doesn't get much better than that.
Yeah, it should be close. I mean, honestly, a sweep is a bit
far-fetched.
crazy and far-fetched, but just the way that the Rays are and as scrappy as they are, I would not be shocked because, like you said, on paper this is close and it should be exciting. But the Rays
baseball
are a
is
crazy
baseball,
team.
and baseball is baseball.
Exactly. Baseball is baseball.
Anything and everything will and can happen at any given point.
So then we move to college baseball, where we have those brackets with one with Vandy, Stanford, Arizona, NC State.
Man, that's going to be a good one, Chris. That's going to be a fun side of the bracket in Omaha.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, I'm probably going to go with Vandy there. Honestly,
really,
I think I'll go with Vandy. I like pitching when it comes to postseason play.
Yes, pitching matters. As an Ole Miss fan, wasn't much of it at all this season, and it came back to bite them when it mattered most, especially in the Super Regional over the weekend against a hot swinging club in Arizona. But yeah, the starting pitching that the Commodores have is the best in the country. That's as dynamic of a duo as you will ever see.
Yeah, and I mean, my heart is with NC State. I'd love to see the Cinderella story play out, but my brain says Vandy. So we'll see what happens there. Who do you think?
Man, that's a great question, Chris.
I know it's tough.
The reason why I like that side of the bracket so much is you have two teams that showed me over the weekend that they could pitch, and two teams that showed me that they could slug it. I agree with you that you need pitching to advance you in Omaha. Through winner's bracket, loser's bracket, especially when you get into that College World Series final where it's a best of three, like I just talked about, you have got to have pitching. Man, I do like your Vanderbilt pick. I really liked what I saw over the weekend with Stanford and Arizona. Those are the two teams that I'm leaning with right now. Man, it's tough because Stanford pitched it pretty well against a really good Texas Tech squad in Lubbock, and basically just dominated that series. Man, I'm having a hard time right now picking between Stanford and Arizona. I think I'm going to go with Stanford.
Okay. I mean, they've looked strong. There's really not a bad pick here. I think,
no doubt. I believe any of those teams could advance to the College World Series final. That's how good that side of the bracket is, in my personal opinion. I do love Arizona's offense and what I saw from them against Ole Miss over the weekend. I'm just going to pick Stanford for the reason of I like their pitching better. They showed me more out of their pitching staff.
A little bit more complete.
Especially, like I just said, going on the road to Lubbock, Texas, and absolutely manhandling the Texas Tech Red Raiders in their home ballpark. From a pitching and hitting perspective. So I'm going to take the Stanford Cardinal because I know they can swing it, and they showed me they just showed me more from their pitching staff than Arizona did.
Okay. Well, and then we have the other bracket: Texas, Mississippi State, Tennessee, Virginia. Who you got there?
Man, This is also tough to pick. I like Texas showed me that they could pitch. I don't believe in their offense as much. Mississippi State has two top-notch starters in their rotation, in McLeod and Bednar. So I like them there, and they showed me a good bit offensively, and then of course you got a hot Tennessee squad right now, which can which showed me they could do a little bit of both as well. I cannot believe I'm fixing to say this. It's something I never thought I'd say. But they're on the right side of the bracket for once. And this is an absolutely great opportunity for this program that has been a mainstay for years. I like Mississippi State to advance to the College World Series final from that side of the bracket.
Yeah, I'm kind of debating between them and Texas, honestly.
Oh, yeah. Now that's, just like with me, with Stanford and Arizona, I picked Stanford because they showed me more pitching-wise. In this instant, Mississippi State showed me a lot on both pitching and offensively for me to pick them. But obviously Texas can do both as well. But it's just Mississippi State showed me more over the weekend, and normally when you're going into the Final Eight in Omaha, it comes down to which team is hotter.
Yeah, of course, Mississippi State's coming off a great win, but that's another reason why, Tennessee's kind of hanging back here as well, because they're really hot right now. But
no doubt.
I also think that's why I'm going to give a slight edge to Texas.
Okay.
I'll say it'll be Vandy versus Texas, just because they're really hot right now, and I feel like they've got a team that can compete with Mississippi State.
No question. They're not the number 2 overall seed for nothing.
Exactly. And of course that we're not talking about Virginia here. They're kind of the odd man out in this bracket.
Yes.
And
they showed me that they could pitch it as well.
Yeah.
Now let's not go off the deep end, because they did play Dallas Baptist, a school. I believe that was their first super regional appearance. I may be wrong.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
And a team that had never had never advanced to the College World Series, kind of like Texas playing a AAC school in their super regional, that once again came back in the top of the ninth inning in that game one to tie it up, and really put the Longhorns on their heels. But with you picking them, I could also see why in this aspect, where teams normally have in the back of their mind, oh my goodness, they've just tied the ball game up. What on earth else can happen?
But Texas keep their cool,
and they sure did. And they're able to get a walk-off win in the bottom half of that inning, which is big. And so I can definitely see why you picked them, because they seem like they're very mature, a very mature team, from the aspect of they get punched in the mouth, they know how to punch back.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And that definitely can help them out if they just so happen to get in the losers bracket at some point.
Yeah, they seem like somebody that could claw back.
No question
get right
about
back
it.
in the thick of it.
No question about it. So that's that's very debatable, and you can't go wrong with Texas there either, because like I said, they're number 2 in the country for a reason, folks.
Oh yeah, and so that means you've got Stanford, Mississippi State.
I do.
I've got Vandy, Texas, which probably means it'll be NC State and Virginia in the final. No, we'll see what happens.
Wouldn't that be something? The only two ACC schools slugging it out.
I mean, that'd be like a double Cinderella story going on. Of course, Virginia has a history, but
and I actually think that would be a great series too. Now, there wouldn't be much offense.
No,
for sure.
I definitely would be going for NC State in that scenario.
Me too, because Virginia won the national championship back in 2015.
Yeah, it hasn't been long.
What, 6 years removed now?
Mm-hmm. They're just kind of the underdog this year in their bracket.
Yes. But going back to what I said earlier, this is only NC State's third College World Series appearance. So, congratulations to the Wolfpack on getting back to Omaha after it'd been a while for one. But they are coming in mighty confident after that big upset over Arkansas.
Oh yeah, you know they're feeling good. So I mean, we'll see how that turns out. But all right, y'all, here we go. The last segment of the show, where it's a little idea I had where I don't know if you've ever been to like baseball reference or football reference or racing reference, but you can like just click a button and it takes you to a random page of a game or a player or a year with a team, just anything you can imagine, any random encyclopedia of knowledge page that you can go to. So I clicked the random button on baseball reference this week, and it took me to a Mets-Pirates game in Pittsburgh on June 5th, 1965.
Long time ago.
Yes. We're going back here. At the time of this meeting, the Mets had 20 wins and 30 losses. The Pirates had 22 wins and 26 losses. So not a marquee matchup going on here.
And you say you're from the 60s.
We need
so let's go back to the 60s.
Yeah, we need James Earl Jones to come.
Oh, no doubt.
Do this for us real quick. But
no doubt. Field of Dreams reference, folks.
Yes.
Field of Dreams. Great movie, by the way.
Oh yeah,
classic.
My favorite sports movie. All right, so the Mets got crushed in this game. Pirates won 9-0. Pirates scored 6 runs in the first inning. Another in the second, another in the 7th, another in the 8th. But so not a close game. Looking at
got off to a hot start though.
Yeah, and looking, I mean, the Mets, of course, were terrible at this time.
Not until 1969 though.
Yeah,
Chris.
Exactly. I mean,
the Miracle Mets.
I know that. I mean, that's the amazing story, right?
So
I mean,
4 years later.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this year
they turn that franchise around real quick.
Oh yeah, because in 1965 they were 50 and 112 with 2 ties, and yeah, they turned it around by 1969.
50 and 112.
Yeah, with 2 ties
to the Miracle Mets team in 1969. Absolutely remarkable.
And actually, Casey Stengel, I mean, he started out this year as manager, but he didn't finish the year. Wes Westrom came in by the second half of the season. So,
oh wow,
So they were making changes, and the Pittsburgh Pirates finished 90-72 with one tie. So they came back and they finished third in the National League. They didn't go to the postseason, but
I wonder who won the World Series that year.
Oh gosh, I'd have to check real quick. I'll look that up.
I wonder if they might. I wonder if the Pirates might have played in the World Series in 1965. Chris?
No, they wouldn't have because they finished third in their division, and that
I forgot about that. You're right.
Yeah,
you're right.
So
you're right.
They wouldn't have been able to.
Didn't if I remember correctly, didn't they do a best of 3 series to get to the World Series?
The first year they did that was actually 1969.
I'll be
shortly after this. Yeah,
a lot of 1969 references here, folks.
Right?
You gotta love it though. Woodstock.
Well, 1965 was pretty. I mean, it's a pivotal year in American history. That's for sure.
No question about it, and the Miracle Mets being a part of it, and of course, I wasn't born yet, but me being the big Chicago Cubs fan that I am, that was just part of a Cub fan heartbreak right there. Cubs, so close to a World Series berth, and I know fans in '69 really thought that that was their year to get over the hump. But man, what can you say about those Miracle Mets?
Yeah, that was their year.
They sure did get hot at the right time, didn't they, Chris?
At the very end, the very end of that season. But yeah, 1965 World Series, the Dodgers beat the Twins in 7 games. So it was
what a series!
Yeah,
Dodgers and Twins.
I mean, the players you'll really recognize from this game in 1965, the Mets, Pirates. The main players you'll recognize will be Roberto Clemente, who went 2 for 5, scored 3 runs. Of course, he had a great year. I believe he led in the batting average.
Oh yeah,
that year.
Let me check that. One of the all-time greats.
Yeah, 1965.
Roberto Clemente.
Yeah, he led in batting average, 329.
Okay.
At the end of the season, and another player, the player who had the best day, was Willie Stargell.
Yeah.
Yeah. So he went 4 for 5 with 4 RBI.
Oh, what a game!
Yeah, really good
Stargell.
Day for Willie Stargell. So that's just sort of a quick look at history. You can look it up on Baseball Reference if you want to go into it deeper. That's New York Mets at Pittsburgh Pirates on June 5th, 1965. It was a Saturday at 1:30 p.m. Wow, the attendance was 6,581.
Wow.
At Forbes Field. So
wow. That's really neat though, Chris. I'm glad you brought that up. That's it's always neat to go back in time, if you will.
All right, well, I think that'll do it for this week, and we'll be back for week 2, and we'll keep refining this and hopefully getting a little bit better each week with figuring out how we want to order and do things. But I feel like this was a good week 1. What do you say?
Absolutely. When you first sent me that text wanting to put this together, I was on board from the get-go. You really got me pumped up for this. Considering I had been down and uncertain about things that are going on in my life, but when you sent me that text about starting up this podcast, I was just pumped.
Oh, I'm
pumped about it
as well. I'm glad to hear you on board.
You and I have been very close friends since the 3rd grade. You were my brother, and listen, people. Both of us, we love sports. We have always loved talking about sports with one another, and not only with us though, with other friends of ours, with other people. But this is just a chance for us to give you our own personal insights and opinions about topics, games, events, etc. But this is something that I've always wanted to do for the people that know me. I've always wanted to get into sports talk radio, just anything sports talk related. It's been a dream of mine, and but I'm just thankful to you, Chris, for putting this together.
Oh, well, you're welcome. Thank you for coming along and trying out the ride with me.
And it's an absolute pleasure being a part of this, and I can't wait to see how this goes for us. And I'm you know me, I'll be anxious every single week to be able to talk sports with you, brother.
Oh, well, same here. I'm looking forward to each week, and I mean the good thing about sports is there's always new games. There's always new games coming up to talk about,
and boy, do we have a lot of them coming up. Very meaningful games coming up. It's a great time to be a sports fan,
for sure. And like our name suggests, sport fanatics. We're going to be bringing from a fan's perspective.
Yes,
we're not necessarily insiders or like former players or anything.
Just our personal insight.
Yeah.
What we're feeling at the moment, what we're going with, predictions,
just having some fun. So I hope
that's what it's all about.
Yeah, hope y'all enjoy it and have some fun too. But
thank you guys.
Oh yeah, until then, next week y'all. Bye-bye.
Adios.